about my love. Wasn't it enough? Just let me know so
I would have a 16 game playoff. And here's why.
Ooh.
If you do the super conferences, right? You split the 4 in the regional conferences, and you'll also do the bottom 5 conferences into 4 major conferences as well. So what you'll do is the conference winner and the conference runner-up from the Power 5 or the Power 4, that would be the Power 4 schools, automatically get a bid in. That's 8 schools right there. Okay? The other 4 schools are going to be from each one of the bottom 5 or the bottom 4 conferences from each region. They get lower seeds automatically because their schedule sucks. And then your middle of the road seeds are going to be 4 at large if there's a committee or something but they can only come from a mixture. They can come from the bottom 4 or the top 4. So you have 4 at large. So you get a nice mixture of all kinds of different stuff. Like, okay, this team wasn't able to play their conference championship and they weren't a runner up, but like, for example, Kansas State, right? Kansas State won their conference. TCU would have been the runner up, right? Who would have been the third team that you probably would have chose? Probably Kansas, right? Because they had a pretty good season. So they would automatically get a bid in because us as the committee would probably say the Big 12's runner up would probably be Kansas, and we would love to see them have a shot. You know what I'm saying? But that's how you would do it. So then there's no question on teams that should have got there that were one game off of going to their conference championship. The runner-ups have a chance to come in and upset their school or another school, and then your bottom 4 conferences get a shot to go in there as well and make some noise. So everybody can shut up about this whole thing. I mean, what do you think, Fishin?
No, I love it. The only problem is this is what I be telling you all the time. These realignment videos and these people that just make up stuff and everything. Like, that scenario is probably pretty much perfect for college football. It's probably not going to happen though. And people come up with all this random stuff, and it drives me crazy because it's just not going to happen, unfortunately. And that's with all kinds of scenarios. It would the SEC would have to break off and give some of its east
Missouri,
west to the
Big Ten,
whatever, the West Coast, whatever. I mean, same with the Big Ten, but it just, I don't know. The conference realignment thing. I don't think people understand really what we're talking about here, because this is the most change, and not only right now, but the last 2 years, this is the most change in college football, like ever by far.
The Conference USA and the American Conference have been swapping schools in the Sun Belt. They've all been swapping their schools in and out every single year.
Yeah. USC and stuff going to the Big Ten and
UCLA.
Yeah,
so, I mean, we've had a lot of changes and stuff, but these are big boy changes. Texas, Oklahoma, FSU, Clemson, USC, Southern Cal. These are big boy stuff here. I mean, to an already strong conference, the 2 of them, that is. So
the 2 most strongest conferences. It's not like the Pac-12 and Big 12 are changing teams. This is like powerhouses of their divisions going to a already good conference.
Yeah, honestly, I'm intrigued, and I'm actually excited if this happens, because like you said, these are 2 powerhouses going to powerhouse conferences. This is the best conference in all of college football. I don't care what Vic says, it's better than the Big Ten still. I don't care, Hayden. It's been the most consistent over the last decade plus. Come on, you gotta get to the SEC.
And how do you guys like this idea, right? So you pick in each one of the regions, right? Let's say the Eastern region. Eastern region has their teams. So it'll be like ACC big, and then ACC small or something like that. And the small is like the bottom 4 conferences with all the crappy schools. You have a relegation in that region too. So the worst team that was in the big conference has to go to the small conference, and the winner of the small conference has to go to the big conference, or the bottom 2. Like the champion and the runner-up get to move up, and the 2 bottom schools in the top one move down.
I like that.
You mean every
That
year?
every
makes
year.
sense.
You wanna know
That'd
what
be,
could make
that'd be
it-
very interesting.
But the conference itself, they own both. So instead of ACC just being the ACC, they pretty much have all those schools under their conference, and they get to run it how they want to. But that's one of the rules. Like, you can own all 35 plus schools that you want, but the rule is you got to move the runner up and the champion up a conference. Or not, just do the champion and the bottom
champion.
one. Like the champion should be able to move up, and the losers got to move down in the top division. Then you have a relegation, and it keeps college football interesting every single year. When UCF went undefeated, and they're the national champions. All right, move over to the ACC and watch y'all get smashed. And if they're the worst team the next year, you got to move back down. I mean, it'll be a lot of movement and a lot of things to keep up with, but we would never, ever, ever. It's good for the schools because they're going to get a lot of money. Because if they move up into big conferences, automatically people are going to have eyeballs on that school. Think about the not only admissions for that school too. Like, admissions will probably go up because they'll have a strong fan base. Some people care about that stuff. Oh man, the game's gonna be lit on the weekends, you know what I'm saying? Like, but it keeps it exciting there, and the fans will never ever have to wonder why is this bad team. Coastal Carolina is a perfect example. Coastal Carolina, they could probably move to the ACC and hold their own. The way that they've been playing with Grayson McCall. Would anybody ever question that if they moved to the ACC?
No.
Move Duke out of there, for example. Move any of these schools. Virginia. Virginia's been playing like dog crap too. Move them schools out. Move Coastal Carolina in. Nobody will have an issue. Be like, all right, well, Duke has got to work themselves back instead of being an academically known great school. If you want to be an athletic great school, you guys got to do better. Just is what it is.
With Duke, they're never going to get moved because of their basketball program. But if FSU and Clemson, when they leave, if whenever that is down the future, they could move a Coastal Carolina up to the ACC though.
Well, here's the thing: the conferences make themselves complicated too. Because like Johns Hopkins lacrosse, for example, is a Big Ten school.
It is
with lacrosse. Everything else is like Division III. Every other sport their football team is Division III, basketball team, all that stuff Division III. But their lacrosse program is considered, they have the Big Ten badge on their jersey. Just like Notre Dame. Notre Dame's got every freaking sport in the ACC, but the football team wants to stay independent.
Oh, don't even get me started, bro.
I can't stand them, bro. I hate them worse than Miami and Florida. I do. I hate them.
Just for that reason. For that reason. Nobody will hate you if you join a conference.
Sijin is a Notre Dame fan.
I'll like them if they go commit to the Big Ten or ACC. Just commit to one.
I like them more now that they have Marcus Freeman as their coach because Brian Kelly.
I hate Brian Kelly. I love LSU, but Brian Kelly makes it hard for me to like LSU anymore.
Let me ask y'all something.
Yeah.
Y'all think the ACC will exist long term if FSU and Clemson leave? Do you think the Big 12 will exist long term if Texas and Oklahoma leave? And do you think the Pac-12 will exist long term with USC and Southern Cal? And then if the Big 10 ends up taking Oregon and Washington, do you see those teams, those conferences actually staying around?
I think they'll stay. But
if UCLA and go ahead, man.
I was just about to say I think they'll stay, but like I don't think they're gonna be as good. Like obviously, because you're losing two powerhouses, you're not gonna get the same attraction you had with those teams there. But they're definitely gonna take a huge step down in terms of like ratings for whatever thing they're getting. But
so they're gonna turn into like the MAC-10, the AAC, like that's kind of what we're looking at on a big scale.
It's gonna be a bad period of football for the ACC.
I think it's going to be like conferences going down a road where it would be like the Big East, which is known in other sports, but not in football. Like I could see that for the ACC, Pac-12, and Big 12 if they keep losing big schools. Like I think the Pac-12 can survive right now with UCLA and USC leaving, but if they lose Oregon or Washington, it's done. Like that
All right.
conference is going to start going downhill because now other big teams in that conference is going to want to leave. Like
Keep in
Utah
mind-
as of late.
They can add any other teams. Everybody's fair game here, except anybody in the Big Ten and the SEC. So they can add to their conference and make it stronger.
But
But
it's going
that's-
to be tough.
But can you add enough?
Well, I'll answer your question with a question. Actually, a round robin here. Let's think of the Power 5 conferences, right? Let's go around. Who are the top 2 teams in the SEC? Georgia and Alabama. Would people
Yeah.
agree with that? Okay.
Yep.
Let's go to the ACC. Clemson and Florida State. Everybody agrees with that. We already said that. The Big Ten. Ohio State and Michigan.
Nope, it's Wisconsin. No, it is Ohio State. and Michigan.
Big
Don't
12.
mind him. Don't mind him.
Big 12. Oklahoma and Texas.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, the Pac-12 is where it gets iffy. You have UCLA, you have USC, you have Oregon.
I'm going Oregon and USC.
Me too.
Oregon
think I
and
got
Oregon and
Oregon.
USC? Yeah.
Yeah.
If we're going like, just overall, yeah.
Like,
Okay, so
it's some too.
USC and Oregon,
third.
right?
Like, what are we talking? Like, last 10, 15, 20
I'm
years?
just saying the most prominent
two.
schools. The
Big
most
two.
prominent.
USC and Oregon for sure. They-
Yeah.
Okay. So my question is, if those 2 teams in each of those conferences leave, are those conferences even prominent anymore? Especially, let's do this. I could already say if Florida State and Clemson leave, that conference sucks. The only school that would keep them afloat is if Miami does well. That's it. Big
UNC.
12.
So,
Big 12 is going to have the biggest impact. If Oklahoma and Texas leave, they're done. Doesn't matter how good Oklahoma State is, Baylor, any of those teams. Those 2 teams are the biggest ticket sellers for the Big 12. They're
They
going
are.
to suffer the most. In the Big 10, Ohio State and Michigan leaving will hurt, but
they'll be fine.
it would be West heavy.
Yeah.
It would be, they would have to bank on Nebraska and Wisconsin being dominant.
And as of right now, it looks like that is a very good possibility.
But they could stay afloat with
They'll be
the
fine.
ACC. SEC, if Georgia and Alabama decide to leave, they still got Florida. They still got Texas A&M. Like, they're fine. Pac-12, if Oregon and USC leave, they got UCLA,
You got Utah. They're going to be good in
Utah. They can still stay afloat.
State,
So-
another school.
To go back and answer your question, Fishin, if Texas and Oklahoma leave, the Big 12 is screwed. And
even
they,
with BYU, Cincy, Houston, and
that ain't saving
even
them.
and
That
whatever.
ain't gonna save it.
Houston.
No, they're still even with that. They're done.
Yeah,
They're done.
Because if they leave, so that's what's going to start the whole avalanche of teams wanting to be super conferences. Because the Big 12 is going to want, once those schools come in and those ratings go down, they're going to knock on everybody else's door and be like, we're going to need to split up again. Sorry, there's no Big 12.
Eventually, I don't know. You might be right, Fishing. To answer your question, like if there's a point where like the ratings are just bad for
It's gonna be.
Big 12, they might just like take everyone that just sucks in that conference and then move them around and then put them in that conference. But I don't know. Right now, I just feel like they're gonna stick to the same game plan. Have a couple of conferences, like switch in terms of teams that you have in there. But I don't know. It's gonna be bad, like in terms of like Big 12 with Texas and Oklahoma leaving, because that's like the only 2 teams you really watch outside of TCU. And the TCU this year, like you only watch them if you're like a real college football fan. Texas and Oklahoma have been the most consistent in that conference, but I don't know.
And they've both been mid.
I was just about to ask that too.
Me too.
I was about to ask that too. I'm not actually asking the question, but just in theory, if you're a casual college football fan, let's say you watch 3 games a day in each time slot, which games you watching? You watching the best noon game with the biggest teams, you watching the best primetime game, biggest teams, and you're watching the best night game with the biggest teams. You're not going to go and watch TCU versus Kansas State.
Oh,
I mean,
Unless
Yeah,
it's
you
the
gotta
Big
be a
12
true
championship.
college football.
yeah, right. I mean, you're just not going to do it. So TV ratings are going to skyrocket to the biggest programs in the country, and it's going to continue. It's long term, but it's going to continue to go that way.
And then
So
you also got to think about it like this: the players are going to want to go to like those bigger teams too, just based off of like recruiting
history.
and stuff and history,
Mhm.
right? So that's going to help the bigger conferences out too. That's going to make it worse for like the Big 12 because your teams already are bad because you have both of your top teams that left your conference, and then they go to bigger conferences and they get more recruiting, and it's going to be bad for the Big 12. That they're like the only conference that I just worry about in terms of like the long-term future on like where I see everyone going. They might just split up at some point if it gets like really, really bad.
Hey, Alan, that's a great question.
Yes.
We'll so you already answered, but we'll give her an in-depth answer on that after this because I just have to mention this one thing. So with Oklahoma and Texas leaving and going to the SEC, that's pretty much a done deal. It's just on win. Same thing with USC and UCLA. When are they going? They have already agreed that they're leaving. Everybody else is kind of speculation up in the air that they might not. So Big 12, we automatically said that they're going to be the worst conference when they leave. It is what it is. I think the only way to save the Big 12 is if you go and get a semi-prominent school from each conference. So if I was the Big 12, instead of bringing in Houston and all those guys, I'm going to the Pac-12 and saying, "Yo, can I get UCLA or not UCLA? Can I get like Utah, Utah or Washington? Can I get one of them? Bam! All right, cool. They still got Oregon. That's fine.
They're gonna say hell no.
Yeah, they're going to say hell no to Utah.
Well, yeah. Yeah, for sure. But I'm just saying this is how they would save. So let's say Utah comes in. Bam, they're good. It makes sense. Then you go grab Wisconsin. I know, I'm sorry, but you grab Wisconsin from the Big 12, the Big 10. Bam, that makes them prominent. Then you go and grab Texas A&M back. Texas A&M comes back, and then you go to the ACC and say, "I want Miami." You grab Miami. That's the only way the Big 12 will stay afloat because you got enough prominent schools to make you afloat. But that's not going to happen.
I would agree. There's two ways in my mind. That way, or if you go to another conference and merge with them. That's the only thing I could think.
ACC.
Which conference is the worst? Which conference would you merge with that would make the most sense?
Pac-12.
Yeah,
Pac-12.
probably Pac-12.
You
Why?
go ACC. Teams are closer there.
Utah, Oregon State. Yeah, I would
Yeah.
definitely go Pac-12 if you're looking at.
Oregon,
I don't know,
Oregon
man.
State.
Yeah. I mean, does it really matter though? How much of a difference is it going to make?
It
Really.
does. It does for the fact that if the Big 12 merges, everybody else is going to merge. I'm going to tell you how it's going to go. That makes sense. We all agree Pac-12 makes the most sense. They're going to merge with them. Guess what small conference is going to join them? The Mountain West.
Yep.
So you're going to have the whole West Coast already locked up. Then you got to go to the ACC next. The ACC is going to be like, well, damn, if they did it and we're like the shortest conference now, they're going to join the SEC because of Florida State, Clemson, Miami, Virginia Tech, Virginia. They're gone. Who's the Big 10 going to merge with? The MAC.
Tim won't have to merge.
Yeah,
MAC.
probably the MAC. Yeah.
They're going to merge with the MAC. Bam.
Yeah.
So then you leave the Sun Belt, the Conference USA, and the American Athletic Conferences to just merge wherever they want to after that regionally. That makes sense. So what you're going to have is 3 super conferences.
Hey,
That's what's going to happen. I'm telling you, it's Monopoly, bro.
Oh yeah.
You ever
Bro,
play
it's
Monopoly?
just
The only name that's going to change for the conference is probably the Big 12 and Pac-12. They'll just come up with a name involving 12. But Big 10 is going to say Big 10. SEC is going to say SEC. That's the only change.
Yeah, Big Fridge said, what if they go to the Pac-12 and they say, hey, man, I'll give you some Yammies for Colorado. Hey, yo.
Ooh, that is Colorado. It could save the Pac-12 a little bit when UCLA goes.
It's gonna be intriguing seeing
Depending on what
too.
Yeah, if Deion can take that program like how people are predicting, that's going to be good for the Pac-12.
Yeah.
I mean, like Deion is just so good at I think just grabbing the attention of players, and then you already seen it with Cormani McClain. Like he won, McClain wanted more money and whatnot, but still, I mean, you look at Travis Hunter, what he's done with him. Hunter said he got him much better and where he needed to be. Deion's going to get a lot of like really good players, and then he might steal from the bigger conferences, like those bigger teams, like those super, power teams and stuff, like Alabama. He already took Cormani McLean from them.
Well, bringing up Colorado, right? If USC and UCLA leave, that could be the Pac-12 savior too. If they bring them back to prominence,
maybe
it would make that sting a little less.
The Pac-12 is relying on Deion right now.
The only thing the Pac-12 better hope and pray doesn't happen, which is going to make them irrelevant again, even with Colorado's success, is if somehow, some way, Notre Dame decides to join the Big Ten.
Hey, Notre Dame,
I'm just being real, bro. There's nothing that the Pac-12 could do. Doesn't matter if Oregon wins 3 national championships in a row. The Big Ten and the SEC are going to be the 2 powerhouse conferences, and Notre Dame is just, if USC and UCLA go and they merge with them, which makes damn sense because who is their rival? USC. They're done.
Man, Notre Dame, I don't know how that would work out because they lose to teams that they shouldn't lose to. And
it'll be fun playing them in the Big Ten.
And then it's like when they get to the Big Ten, you see the same things. You lose that you're not supposed to lose.
Uncloud your mind of the Notre Dame that you've seen lately.
Man,
Notre Dame is one of the biggest. Notre Dame is a top 3 brand in college football.
I mean, yes,
if you get that in the Big Ten, you're having that compete with brands like Alabama as of late and big ones as well. That'll be a huge move for the Big Ten. If they can land Notre Dame, they're set.
They might. That's the only conference in the history of the game that could compete with the SEC. Literally and truly, if Notre Dame decides to do that, what USC, UCLA, Ohio State, Wisconsin, Michigan State, Nebraska, if Matt Rule can turn that team around, bro,
they're the 2000s Nebraska.
I actually, to be honest, I hope that happens.
I hope the whole West improves.
Well, that would make college football so good.
Of Purdue versus Ohio State in the Big Ten championship. It needs to end.
Man, that would be awesome.
The whole thing about this, though, the whole thing about this, though, when we're talking about these teams right now, these teams are not going to be good forever. And we're talking about signing deals like 10, 20-year deals.
Yeah.
Like, we can't just go and pick up all these teams. If we go pick up what's Grayson McCall on? I can't remember. Anyway, Coastal Carolina. Like, what if they suck after he leaves, or what if the coach leaves and go gets a better job? You get a doo-doo coach, and then you got this team that's doo-doo in your conference, like Vandy. Like, so you can't just go and do all this stuff, though. Like, just in theory, right? Like, you have to go get the big programs and all that, and kind of choose wisely. You can't depend on, like, even Florida, for example. You can't depend on Florida to be good every year. A&M to be good every year. Nebraska, Wisconsin. Everything is going to, every college football is always in a cycle.
It is.
Yeah, well, you know how many rivalries we have in the Big Ten? Like, you know how much that'll add to, like, the salt that is already there with, Penn State, Michigan, and then you got Ohio State. That's going to be even better when you add a team like Notre Dame. Because, like, I get it. They lose to teams they shouldn't lose to. So, I mean, the average college football fan is going to be like, oh, okay, why do they always do this? And then beat teams like, or contend with teams like Ohio State week 1 of the season and then lose to a team like Marshall. But still, it will bring some, like, enjoyment to watch because, like, they've been dominating wherever they've been. And then it's like, I can't wait to see this, bro. I just am so intrigued to see what happens later down the line when you add a team like Notre Dame to the mix in the Big Ten, and you have Penn State, who outside of Sean Clifford, that team was really good last year, and then you have Ohio State, who's still a pretty good team offensively. They have players on defense, and then you got obviously Michigan. They've been really consistent too over the last 5 years. And then you add a team like Notre Dame to the mix. That's going to get even better, bro.
I want to say this about the Notre Dame thing. outside of like football play on the field, if you're the Big Ten in marketing, that Notre Dame USC rivalry is going to bring you money.
And they already have the deal with NBC.
Yeah,
I think
That would be the most watched game of the week. Because not only you don't have to with the USC, well, it already happens now, but the Big Ten would have to get a cut of that money that's coming into Notre Dame for that game because it's going to help them out. But Notre Dame can market their games every single week. They don't even need College Game Day.
yeah.
They don't. It's once USC plays Notre Dame at Notre Dame, is it? That's the biggest game of the week automatically, depending on if those two. It's not depending on anything. It's just going to be the biggest game of the week because of the rivalry and them being in the Big Ten and that having so much implications.
Impact.
The one thing that with the SEC that I didn't want to mention is like the West and East are both good.
Yeah.
And any given year,
Outside of us.
yeah, and any given year, both sides of those divisions can be good.
Yeah.
The one thing with the Big Ten that lacks is the East beats the crap out of the West every single year, and they're like, good luck next time, right? So on the other side of that, you have Notre Dame and USC and UCLA that are probably going to join the Western Conference, which then bolsters them up now too. Sorry, hate to say it, Hayden, Wisconsin, Nebraska don't scrape
We
off,
need it.
but that's what's going to make them better too.
I got a question. But you keep going. My bad. You keep going. No, not the
No, I was done. I was done with my point. I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, I was just
Yeah,
about
go
to
ahead.
say,
And then I got
if you add USC, UCLA, and Notre Dame to the mix, and then for the SEC, they add, let's say, Florida, and then obviously Clemson, does the Big Ten get better than the SEC later down the line? Because you only have two really like dominant teams, and then you have Florida and then Clemson, but yeah, Big Ten just added more attraction to them because they added Notre Dame, they added UCLA and USC, and they're all going to be really, really good in the future, especially USC. So
I'll tell you where the recruiting. Well, no, it won't. It won't even be that.
Don't know.
This is the thing. If you had to split the map down the middle, this is where we're going to see probably the biggest states for recruiting football are Georgia, Florida, Texas, California, and Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The SEC is already got, once Texas and Oklahoma come over, they already got Texas, Georgia, and Florida locked down. It is what it is. But then you got California and Ohio State. Bryce Young played at California. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's didn't CJ Stroud come from California too? Isn't he a California kid?
I think so.
No, I don't think so. I don't think
Yeah.
he did. But DJ Ukulele did. I think Quinn Ewers came from. No, he was in Ohio. Plenty of them have came from California. Trust me.
Let me see.
Oh, yeah.
CJ Stroud played. I'm looking on Max Preps real quick. No, he's from California.
Is he really? I didn't.
Yeah.
I stand corrected. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So Bryce Young and CJ Stroud both came from California. So you know what I'm saying? Like right there, Ohio and California would be locked up by the Big Ten.
Yeah.
You almost got to give the edge to the SEC there, but it's interesting because you got Bryce Young and CJ Stroud. They kind of broke the mold, and look at that two California quarterbacks are 1 and 2 on the big boards this year.
I
Fighting
think
to be
the
the first one.
rivalries. Yeah, I think the rivalries get better for the Big Ten. Like,
Oh yeah. 100%.
I mean, to be honest with you,
Because
like right now you have Georgia, Bama, and then like Auburn, Bama, but like Bama's much better
Dominated.
than us. Like they're much better than us. I don't know. I think in terms of rivalries, Big Ten might exit over SEC because you have
it
Penn
will.
State, Michigan. You got Michigan, Ohio State. Everyone loves to see that. Everyone
You'll
Michigan State
add-
is good too.
and
to the
exactly. You add that to the mix, and then you
And
have
to the
Notre Dame,
West.
USC.
See, you have an underrated one in Wisconsin, Minnesota for the West. That's the best division
Exactly.
game right now in the West. But if
It
you
won't
bring
be
in,
once UCLA and
Oh, I
USC
know.
get there.
no, it won't. But just if you add Notre Dame to this, you'll have arguably the best division rivalry game ever in Notre Dame and USC.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all need to go watch. Y'all need to watch your Golden Doo-Doo Man videos. Y'all need to watch some of those.
Who?
Huh?
Dude, the dude I showed you, Dante.
Oh,
The
You gotta show me
realignment
this.
guru. The
All right.
realignment guru.
Oh,
I would give him a watch after
the
this,
one that
but
he makes a video about every team that could go somewhere.
yeah, I just
18
want to.
times in the off season. But I'm just saying,
it's going to be definitely be interesting in what happens. I did want to answer Alan's question if you're still in here though. He said, will Ohio State struggle after CJ Stroud leaves? No.
One.
Yes, yes. They
They're
need
not
to.
going to.
Please, for my soul.
When
they
have you
need
ever
to.
seen Ohio State struggle?
I mean, it depends though, because you have
They did have that 1 year.
You had two really, really good quarterbacks, and then now you have
and they got 3 more on the bench.
and then
Yeah, I was about to say.
you have Kyle McCord, and then the other quarterback,
Devin Brown.
Brown. Yeah,
They'll be fine.
I don't
at
think they're
QB.
gonna. Yeah, I don't think they're gonna be as good, but they're still gonna be good. Like, what do you see in the drop?
Hold on.
I was being sarcastic.
Let's go since 2002. Let's go through their records. 14-0, 11-2, 8-4, 10-2, 12-1, 11-2, 10-3, 11-2, 12-1, 6-7 in 2011, then 12-0, 12-2, 14-1, 12-1, 11-2, 12-2, 13-1, 13-1, 7-1, 11-2, 11-2. Bro,
Wow.
6 and 7.
Never-
That was the last
they
time I remember Ohio
never
State doing
struggle.
bad.
they never
They have-
struggle.
They have to hire a terrible coach. They have to beg to struggle at Ohio State.
They do.
You have to beg to.
They have.
I
talent
want them
all
to
across
struggle.
the board, bro.
But they're not.
Also offensively, they have talent all across the board. All you gotta ask your quarterback is to just be decent, and they're gonna still be really good. Like, I
They're
wish.
But it's a lot more that goes into that, though. It's
Yeah.
the Ohio State University. They got the money. They got the resources. Same with Alabama. Money, resources. They can hire these coaches. They can make all these moves and do all these things. It's a ton more that goes into it
And
other than
What-
just getting the player and having them play.
yeah.
Do you know
and
the last time they were under 500 in their history?
Shit,
6
80s.
and 7?
1966.
Wait,
Oh, that was
what was their 2011 record again?
Huh?
What was their 2011
Wow.
record again?
2011, they were 6 and. Oh, I'm sorry, 2011.
Yeah, I was about to say 2011. That was the best year of my life because they were crap.
Luke Fickle was their coach.
Hey, bro.
Oh,
Head
damn,
coach.
that's not good.
He was fresh to the scene.
I don't
He
care.
improved.
No,
You-
Luke-
He was there
Come on,
1 year, and they
you
said, "Get him out of here."
Nah, man, you gotta
Hey,
get-
bro, he
hold
was
up,
an
hold up,
interim
hold up.
head coach. He took Cincinnati.
And then Urban
to
Meyer
the
came
playoffs.
in. They went undefeated the next year, bro.
Yeah,
Come
Urban
on,
Meyer-
dog.
Urban Meyer
Yeah,
can
it
just
was a
say,
good coach.
can stop it. Okay.
Luke Fickle's a good coach. I think he's gonna be good with Wisconsin. That team,
Hey,
they got
bro.
talent on offense. I think they're gonna be good for the future. I think he's gonna get them with recruiting. They already got good players on that.
Oh, we're
offense.
set
They
for the
look-
QB position for the future. I never
And-
thought I would say that in my fan base life.
And then you got Tanner Mordecai. Like, come on, bro.
Who's playing his last year of eligibility. Then you got Nick Evers as well, who will come in next year.
Who's
Anyway,
next up
I
at
knew-
their wide
I
receiver
knew-
positions?
I knew that shit. I knew that shit was gonna get crazy.
You still got Marvin Harrison Jr. for next year
Amika
as well.
Ibuka is still there. Fleming is
Devon
still there.
Bullard is a-
Fleming,
uh,
yeah.
Yeah, bro. They said
And to add on top of the best receiver in the country for Ohio State, but whoa.
But hold on though. How much credit are we really going to give to Ryan Day versus that man that just got promoted and Brian Hurtline though?
He's really the guy.
Brian
that-
Hurtline deserved every single bit of that promotion he got, bro. I don't care what nobody
Yeah.
says.
Ryan
Like-
Day's
He
overrated.
gets 5-star receivers like it's nothing.
Like he flipped. Hey, what was it, Fishing? He flipped like 4 or 5 stars this year. Like
Yeah.
bam, bam, bam. To
Cornell
Ohio
Tate,
State.
Brandon Ennis. Yeah, both the top 10 players at one point.
He flew him out, picked him up in his SUV Lambo, and showed him what was good, bro.
He said, "What's up? You know you want to."
Brian Hartline was that guy. You know, if he's not the next Ohio State head coach, if Ryan Day starts sucking or moves on from the school, because he's not gonna. That recruiting
Please let him
is
go.
not going to stop, bro. And he's already got that. He already got that under the
Please,
belt, bro.
please leave the Big Ten. Please.
I don't know why you saying that, Hayden. Because
They're not going to leave
on that job. Luke Fickle's just waiting on that job.
He ain't going to do it. Don't you? Let me enjoy my moment.
Whoa, waiting on the Ohio State job to come back open?
Yep.
Yeah.
He went there.
Yeah, he's
his
waiting
alma
for it
mater.
to come back open. He'll take it in a heartbeat.
It's the reason why he took Wisconsin was because of his family. That was the biggest reason.
Mhm. All right, let's go ahead and move on. This was a fun one, man. I can't wait to make a couple videos out of this. That was a fun discussion right there.